If you've been watching Unity's development, you know that UI Toolkit has been in a bit of identity crisis. It started its life as a tool for building Unity editor extensions, but over the past few years Unity has been aggressively pushing it as the future of runtime UI. So today, we're going to build in-game UI to see what UI Toolkit can actually do for our games. Before we start building, let me give you some context. UI Toolkit uses a fundamentally different approach than the traditional UI GUI system. Instead of placing components directly on the scene, you build your interface using UXML files for structure and USS files for styling, similar to how HTML and CSS works. But fear not, you don't need to write everything from scratch. Unity has provided a nice visual editor. Okay, so let's get into Unity with this sample project and let's implement our UI. So to work with UI Toolkit, let's first create a new folder. I will call it UI Toolkit. And inside of it, we need to create UI document. This will be sort of a configuration for our canvas objects. So let's right click, create. Here you should see UI Toolkit and select UI document. This UI document will be placed on top of our game view, so I will simply call it game UI. Okay, and then in the hierarchy, let's add a UI document as well. So let's right click, UI Toolkit, UI document. That will auto-populate with panel settings. You can see that it auto-generated panel settings here in our UI Toolkit folder. And it's awaiting for the source asset, which should be this game UI we just configured. So this is a basic configuration. Let's now open UI Toolkit editor. To do that, double click on our source asset. So this editor opens as a normal Unity tab. If you want, you can take this tab and place it, I don't know, maybe somewhere here next to the game view. But I personally prefer to have it on top of everything. It's much bigger canvas to work with. Here you can see we have a few panels which are quite similar to the native Unity interface. So in the middle we have a working area viewport. On the left we have library of all different components like label, button, toggle, progress bar, and so on and so on. Here we have hierarchy, same as the Unity scene. StyleSheets, we'll talk about that in just a second. And on the right, we have inspector. A quick intermission. If you're interested in building UI for your game, check out my Master Unity UI course. Currently, we have 30% off deals for Black Friday. Check the link in the description. So, to start working with our objects, first I would like to fix this viewport view. So, as you might have noticed, it does not match our current game view, and also we do not have any preview of how our UI will look on the game. To fix that, click on this game UI, and here in the inspector on the right, click Match Game View. That automatically resizes this whole canvas. And then I also like to click canvas background and here select camera and then select your main camera. That way, now in the UI Toolkit preview, we get a nice look of how the UI will look like when placed on top of our game view. Okay, so before we'll start placing any real elements on our scene, first I would like to just give you a short example of how to place something new on the scene. So for example, I would like to place button. To do that, simply drag this button from the library and place it somewhere on top of the game view. As you can see, that created this button, which can be resized. And if we want to change any of its properties, here on the right we have this big inspector window with a ton of different properties, size, spacing, maybe text settings. So I can change font size, I can change font text, and I can even name it. So I can call it button, for example. Also, at the beginning, I mentioned that this UI builder is based on UXML files. And actually here on the bottom, if I will drag it here, you can see a preview of everything we've created. So in this case, this line of code exactly represents this button. If I would change its size, you can see that here height and width is being updated. Usually you start building your interface in UI Builder, but the truth is that later on, once you get more experience, it may be even easier to build interface using XML file and only go back to UI Builder to get a preview. Okay, so that was just an example. Let me hide it. For now, I will remove this button and we'll start with building the actual interface for our simple game. I would like to start with the player profile, so something here in the corner that will represent the currently selected player, its name and class, for example. So, similarly as with the button a second ago, I will start with visual element. Visual element is, as the name suggests, just an empty element that can be some sort of a container, group. It has multiple uses, so let's use it as the frame for this player profile in the corner. By default, visual container is being stretched to the entire size of the page. If I would go here to background and change its color, you will see that it's overlaying the whole interface. We do not want that. To fix that, let's go to the position, and instead of having relative position that tries to stretch it to every screen corner, I will change it into absolute. Now it's extremely small, it's actually 0 by 0, so let's stretch it like that and move it here. As you can see, anchors have automatically changed to say that this element is placed 42 pixels from top and 50 pixels from left. Let's maybe unify that to be 48 and 48 in both axes. Okay, next let's quickly style this component. I really like this color used in the game, this dark blue, but actually we can't use it because it will conflict with the game scene elements. So I will maybe select here in the background color a similar color like that, and then I will make it a bit darker. So that will be our interface here in the corner. Also, to change its aesthetics a little bit, we can find here border properties and experiment with radius. So maybe I will change radius to 8 pixels from every side, and now you can see that this container has this rounded edges. Okay, that's nice. Let's continue. Next, I would like to add an image that will display the currently selected character or enemy. For that, we'll again use visual element. So let's drag it in. And we again have the same problem. Visual element is on the entire scene. I will change its position to absolute, change its size. I will also give it a color just for now so that we can easily identify it. Okay, let's place it here. Okay, so similarly as with classic UI elements, or in fact any classic Unity sprites, hierarchy is very important. So for example, now if I would move this black frame, you can see that our image is not following this frame. That is because it is not a children of it. To make it children, let's just here in the hierarchy place it on top of the original visual element. I will once again place it properly like that, and now whenever we change the parent position, it also changes all children. I think this is also a good idea now to rename all of our elements. So this big one will be called character info, and the smaller one will be called character image. We'll update this image in just a second. In the meanwhile, let's maybe add some text. So I will find label here in the library and drag it in. Notice that we can either drag it to the root of our viewport, or we can drag it inside of our character info box. Let's do that, and as you can see, that also nicely placed this label here in hierarchy. So for our label, I definitely need to make it larger. I will change its color to white. And then, actually, I like that it fills the entire width of this container, but our character image is obviously conflicting with it. So let's find here in our inspector what different properties we have to maybe manage that. I believe here margin will be a nice one. I will increase margin from the left. And by doing so, you can see that our label is nicely being positioned with some margin from the left, avoiding this image frame. Okay, so this label will be character name. Okay, and then I will also quickly duplicate it. And the second one will be character class. Thanks to the default layout, you can see that the second label is being placed below the first one. That's great. You will see in just a second how we can manage those layouts with the hearts interface. But before that, let's just quickly manage this label to finish it off. The second label should be definitely smaller. And the last problem is that, as you can see, those texts are not being centered. This can be managed at the parent level. So when I click on this character info container, here this second icon represents how items are being aligned. When I click on it, you can see that I can change items alignment. This one is horizontal alignment. Let's check if this is top bottom. Yes, it is. So in this case, I have centered those texts. Okay, so the first one is label, second one is class. It is perfect. In a second, we'll hook up some scripts to change both image, character name, and character class. Before that, let's build simple hearts interface that will be built here, top right, which will have just simple 3 hearts that will decrease based on player health. So, to make it easier, I will duplicate this character info, just right click on it, duplicate it, and I will place it here. Because this should be anchored to the top right, I will also change its name to hearts info. Okay, as you might remember, previously when we created the first container, it was anchored to the top left, and now we do not want that, because if I would now stretch the screen or make it different than the default value, you can see that this container stays in place. That is not good. I will revert the match game view. To fix that, in position anchors, we need to unset the left anchor, and we need to set right anchor to 48 pixels. Now, if I would change screen dimensions, you can see that this container stays to the top right corner. That's perfect. Okay, so let's remove those texts from the hearts info container, and we'll recycle character image. Instead of being character image, that will be heart image. So I've prepared a heart image. You can download it below this video. And to assign image to visual element, let's scroll down, and here in background we have image selection. Here I will select heart image. Nice. And for color, make sure to make it transparent, so that will remove this background. As with the classic Unity UI, it is good if you have one color images to place them in Unity as white PNGs. That way you can then change image tint, Like in this case, maybe I would like to make it red to symbolize health. Okay, that's nice. Let's now duplicate this image 3 times. I'm using Command D. And now we have a problem. I have duplicated those images, but as you can see, all of them are being placed on top of each other. We actually would like to revert this position absolute we did previously for the image. So I will maybe remove those images first. I will change this position to relative. I will also remove offsets like that. And to make sure that the image will be displayed properly without being stretched like in this case, I will go back to the background settings and I will change scale mode to scale to fit. That way image stays with the proper aspect ratio, but it will be zoomed out a little bit if the container is too big. So now, yeah, I think we can try to duplicate those images 3 times. And now we have another problem. This time, a parent flexbox, which is controlling how children elements are being placed, is not configured properly. You might remember when we clicked on the parent here on the left, we had those settings. The same are here. And the one that we are interested in is the first one. It's being called flex direction. Now it's being placed from top to bottom, but when I click on it, we can change it to being placed from the left to right. Similarly, let's check those different components. Align items. Yeah, I have aligned items in the center. And I think that's it. Or maybe you know what, the only thing I would change is to make this container a bit smaller. Like this, and then each heart should also be a bit smaller. Now when they are smaller, I'm not happy about the spacings between them, so one last change about this container is that I will go here, where is it, to spacing section, and I will increase some padding from the right, maybe 32, and from the left. Padding defines how items inside the container are being placed. In this case, you can see that being represented as this green space. That means that in this padding space, no item should be placed. So the items themselves have been pushed into the center of this container. All right, great. So I think it's finally time to preview how this interface looks in our game. You can notice that here for our UI builder document we have this star. That means that this document is not saved. To save the changes, just press Command or Control S, and now the star has disappeared. We can close this window for now and check how it looks like in the game. Let's press play. And we have a slight problem. The problem is that UI is not being scaled properly. If I would maybe resize it, you can see it's fine. Or maybe if I would change low aspect, oh, it's even worse. Yeah, the problem is with scaling. And actually, we have some control about that. If I would go to the UI document in the hierarchy, and double click on this panel settings that have been automatically generated when we created this UI document. That opens this panel settings in the inspector, and some of those settings might look familiar for you because they are more or less the same as in the UI canvas color. If you'd like to learn more about most of those settings, you can check out my lesson in Code Master Unity UI course. But in this case, we will like to look at the scale mode specifically. So currently it's being set to constant physical size. And the problem with that is that it really depends on how big our screen is. So if I would have big 4K screen, for example, it may look fine. But if I would open this game on the mobile screen, it would look like this. We don't want that. We want to have those elements stay with the similar size no matter what is our player screen. To do that, we need to change scale mode to scale with screen size, this one. And as you can see now, no matter what is the size of the viewing window, it looks way better. But still, those components look a little bit too big. We can tweak it by changing reference resolution. For example, if I would make X value higher, you can see that those components are getting smaller. But I would suggest you to stick with reference resolution 1280 by 720. Then set this exact resolution here in the Unity settings. So instead of having aspect or free aspect, I will change it to either full HD or small HD if you have such preset. Perfect. And now when we go back to our UI document source asset, you can see, no changes. You can see that we have exact preview of our user interface, how it will look like no matter what's the screen resolution, and this is a good time to scale it down a little bit. Okay, so this is how it looks like after my change. Let's save it. By the way, I suggest you to modify those settings at the very start of building your interface. That way you won't have such issues later on. Okay, so our UI is static for now, but still we can press play in our game view and check how the game looks with our UI being placed on. Alright, let's move on with our UI building. For now, we have a problem with duplicated styles. So at the start, I prepared this character info container, but then I have duplicated that and placed it here as well. The problem is that what if I would like to create another one of those containers, for example, I don't know, here in another corner, and then I will decide to change color of all of those containers at once. I would need to one by one change the colors, and what is really annoying about UI Toolkit, by the way, I can't select multiple objects at once. It is just not possible, or at least the selection is possible, but I can't edit them. So I would need to manually, one by one, change the color of all of those components. Well, the solution of the UI Toolkit is to use styles. I can create a style that is being applied to both of those containers, and whenever the style settings changes, those changes are being automatically applied. So when I click on this first container, you can see that next to some of the sections, there is this white line. It means that in this section there are some changes. For example, we have changed the default color. Here we changed the default border radius. I would like to create a new style that does not change everything, but also only those two properties, and then apply it to all containers so that the style will control their background color and border. To do that, we'll need to create a style file. Here in the top left, let's click plus, create new USS. This is alternative to CSS. And let's place it in our UI Toolkit. Here I will call it styles. And then let's create a new style class. Here, click in this input field, and let's call it container. Okay, when we click on this container, you can see that here in the inspector, it has exactly the same properties, or at least most of them. And here we can specify some overrides. So first I would like to override the color. Maybe this time we'll use a different one so that you will see that there are some changes. So maybe I will go with a little bit purple one. Okay, and then I would like to also set the same border radius to 8 pixels. Again, you can see that only some of the values are being overwritten, in this case background and border radius. Now drag this container style to the first container. As you can see, we do not have any changes yet. That is because the character info container tries to override those color and border by itself, so we need to cancel that. Let's click here on the color and click on set, and then for border let's do the same. And now you can see that both of those containers have the same class applied. Actually, I can hover over this container class and you can see which objects are using it. What's great about this class is that if I would decide to change any of its settings, for example, make different radius, you can see that those changes are being applied instantly for our UI game elements, which is perfect, and it's actually a really nice use case for this styling classes. Also, do not forget that if I would at some point create any new visual container, I do not need to style it from scratch. I can just drag this container on top of it and it immediately has the same style applied. Perfect. Okay, and another example, you might remember with those hearts we had a little bit of issues because I need to change their height one by one because again UI Toolkit cannot edit multiple objects at once. I think the better solution might be to keep for now just one heart and create a new style out of its settings. So to do that, let's remove those two different hearts. And for this heart image, I will not create new style here, but I will click on this heart and here I will toggle style sheet, style class list and create a new style here. So I will simply call it heart and click extract inline styles to new class. Notice that when I will click on it, it will automatically remove those style overrides and instead move them into the heart style. That way, now if I will duplicate this image a few times, I can now click on the heart and modify height, which will be applied automatically to all hearts at once. And maybe later on, if I will have some kind of hearts in the game, I can also use the same style and have similar controls. So this video started to get a bit long, so I've split it into two parts. In the second part you will learn how to change data using ScriptableObjects, how to code decreasing hearts, and how to create the pause menu. Click here to continue watching.